Hey guys, I'm Becca and today I will show you how to create simple raycasting program in C by using MLX library. So what is raycasting? Raycasting is the algorithm used to render 3D environments by casting rays from player's perspective until they hit an object. Based on the distance of those rays, we can define how things should appear on the screen, and it's giving us this 3D effect. By end of this video, we will have something like this, all coded in pure C. So let's get started. First open the terminal and let's start building the structure for our program. We will need the includes and the source directory and make file for compile. So the structure at the end should look like this. Now we can open the VS Code and we can clone the MLX library. So we can start working with the make file. It should have name, which one will be game right now, and it should have the objects. So we're gonna add the flags for MLX and everything else will be just the basic make file structure. So we'll have the includes for MLX library and the source will be main.c. So now we can start working with our header file. It will be really basic one. We should have to include all of the libraries which one we're gonna use, and right now we are able to include our header to main. So we can start working with our structure. It will be tgame and it will have void pointer to MLX, window and the image. So right now we can initialize our game, and with MLX loop we should be able to open window. This is our window, which one doesn't display anything yet. Now instead of numbers we can define width and height of the window, and we can add more variables in our structure which will be useful for putting pixels on the window. So now we can create our own putPixel function. It should have x and y for the coordinates and the color of the pixel. So let's make the edge cases, then it's not gonna be outside of the window. And first we're gonna put pixel into the buffer and next we're gonna display it. So while we have our own putPixel function, we can draw something on the screen. I'm gonna make function which one will draw square based on the parameters which one we're gonna put. So I'm gonna put right now in the center and it will be tiny square. So let's run it and this is our tiny square. So let's give this square its own structure, which one will be tPlayer. It will have x and y values for the positions of the player. Let's define numbers for the key hooks and the pi, which one we will use in future. So let's initialize this player. X and y will be in the middle of the screen, and let's add new boolean variables for the key hooks. Let's initialize them and make first function for the key press. So this will be our first key hook function, and let's make the key release, which will be almost the same, but everything will be false. So with the MLX hook function, we will be able to catch the key press and key release. So let's make those functions actually do something. I'm gonna make move player function, which one will change player coordinates when we press the key. Now let's create a new loop for drawing everything, which one will draw square based on the player coordinates. And then let's run it. So it draws the player, it changes the coordinates, but it has one problem. It's happening because we never clean what we draw. So let's create a new function, which one will clear the image by putting new dark pixels on the screen. So let's run it. This is our tiny player right now, but it's too small, so let's make it a little bigger. We just have to change the size in our draw square. And this is our player right now. Player is too alone, so let's give him a world to live in, which one will be map right now with ones and zeros, and make new function which one will display square based on the ones and zeros positions on the map. So this is our player living somewhere. Again, instead of numbers, let's define the block size. Right now our player can move up, down, left and right. So let's make it rotate. For that we will need to have angle for player. And right now every time when we're gonna move on specific angle. For that we just have to add every time new angle to every movement. Let's also make new key hooks for the changing angle when we're gonna press left and right click on the keyboard. And right now player should be able to rotate, so it's working. Now we can actually cast a ray and draw the line between player and the wall. So for that we're gonna make new function, which one will be touch, and it will detect if the current position of X and Y is touching to block. So while it's not touching, let's draw the pixel, and it's drawing the line. It's drawing everything really well. Line stops when it's touching the wall, and this is what we wanted. Now instead of just drawing one line, let's draw multiple lines. So while I is less than width of the window, we're gonna draw each line. So we will need the fraction for getting the correct angle for each line. Inside of the draw line function we're gonna use the same loop which one we had before, so it should draw multiple lines. Now it looks like this. So it draws multiple lines and stops when it hits the wall. It's really fun to play and it's really easy to edit the map. We can put once and it will make new objects there. So there is our walls, and as you can see our raycasting is also working really well. So how actually draw everything in 3D? Let's say we have player and object. We should know the distance between player and object. So what's the distance? Let's say that the player have x1 and y1 coordinates, and the place where this touching is x2 and y2. So this is the formula for calculating the distance between them. Let's simplify with delta x and delta y, and this is our final formula. So right now while we have the distance, we can actually draw something based on the distance. So this is distance. Let's draw the line with the height based on the distance. So if object is closer, the height of the line will be big, and if object is far, height of the line will be small. So let's get the distance and let's get the height based on the distance. So while we have a height, we will be able to put pixel. So let's start it, and it looks a little bit weird and it's super fast. So first let's comment the previous put pixel and the drawing square function, and let's change the speed a little bit. Now it should be good to go, so we can run the game, and it's working well. This is our first Raycaster. It looks fine, just it has one problem, that it has this fisheye effect. So let's fix that really quick with upgrade of our distance finding function by finding the angle difference between player's direction and Ray's direction. So this is our game without any fisheye effect. It looks fine, it looks really good, but we can do more. So instead of just commenting the 2D drawing, we can make the debug mode. So when it's not on, we will see this really nice raycasting without any weird fisheye effects. But when we're gonna turn on the debug mode, it will draw everything in 2D. So let's run the game, and here is our debug mode. It will be really useful when you're gonna put different objects on the map. So if you are working on the Cub3D project from 42 school or making your own 3D game with raycasting, you have good starting point here. That's all for this video, and wish you happy coding.